the world. I like.
There he is.
Okay, we're live.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to call this Providence City Plan Commission regular meeting of Tuesday, December 13th to order at 4:48 PM. Let's start by taking a roll call. Noel Sanchez.
Noel Sanchez.
Harry Galindo.
Nicole Verdi.
Tryon Manager Card DPD staff.
Lisa Dinnerman, legal counsel.
Bob Azar staff.
And I'm Michael Gazdacko, Chair. We will look to the board for approval of the November 15th meeting minutes. You all got those in advance. Hope you had a chance to look them over. There are no edits or revisions. We'd accept a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, I'll go around. Noel,
Fine.
Harry,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
and I vote aye. We just have to continue to date sensitive, right? Does the time clock run out?
It's certain, but it doesn't, but we don't afford everybody. This is happening. I think we should keep that there.
Okay, the second matter of business is the approval of the 2023 annual meeting calendar. We were just talking about one revision, but we're not going to make that.
Well, actually, you could try to push it until the 23rd. I wouldn't go earlier, but you might want to go later.
I'd be happy to do that. The 24th, you mean?
The 24th.
Okay. I have a conflict with the January 17th proposed meeting date. I'm wondering if the commission would be opposed to moving that out 1 week to January 24th.
No objection.
Perfect. Any other dates of concern for board members, or we could take a motion to approve the meeting schedule and filing deadlines for the 2023 calendar year?
I make a motion to.
Oh, wait, hang on, hold on one second.
One question. Items that we contingent. Income donations.
Yeah, yes, number 3.
Okay.
And we're just
But
going to
we'll,
say
we'll
January
note that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, we will have cake.
yes.
Okay. All right, so we do need to have cake at the January meeting. There's a birthday. And the only way we have our solicitors' attendance is if we have a cake. So that's going to be a requirement, Choyan. I expect that to be provided. We'll all pitch in.
You give me cake, Michael.
Not for me.
Just joke. You want cake, will you be?
All right, any other
Least we could do.
revisions?
Yeah.
All right, then now we will take a motion.
Okay, well, I will make a motion to approve the Providence City Plan Commission 2023 meeting schedule with the change that January 24th is the first meeting.
Wonderful. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Noel.
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
and I vote aye. All right, director's report.
Okay, just briefly, I thought I would kind of sum up the year for you. It's been a busy one, and I want to thank you for your dedication. So this is CPC 2022 by the numbers. 15 meetings. We had 3 special meetings in addition to our 12 regular meetings. You reviewed 10 minor subdivisions, 5 of those with unified development review, projects that would have had to go to the zoning board otherwise. 7 minor land development projects, 7 major land development projects, 1 of those with unified development review. You had 33 council referrals. Overwhelming majority of those were zoning changes, 24 map changes, and 5 text changes. I'm happy to say that the most recent text changes that we submitted were signed by the mayor in the last couple of days. That's really going to move the needle on some of our housing policy with respect to lot merger, the R4 zone, and things like that. That was a big lift for all of us, so I want to note that. You had 4 street abandonments, 4 institutional master plan reviews. And everybody knows that housing is the big issue statewide, and it continues to be here. And I'm happy to say that together we have been involved in the approval of 523 dwelling units in 2022. I'm not presuming anything, but if you approve the 160 that are on the docket tonight, that would bring the number to 683 for the year.
Wow.
With many more in the pipeline. So once again, thank you for your service this year. We really appreciate everything you do, and this really is a critical board and is going to continue to be so.
Well, I'd also like to take that opportunity to thank the staff, you and Choyan, who do most of the heavy lifting before it gets to us, because it wouldn't be as smooth or clean when we hear these matters if it weren't for your work ahead of time. So we do appreciate it. Anything else from the director?
That's it.
All right. Then with that, we will roll right into the first agenda item. We're going to do the first 3 a little bit out of order. We're going to hear the first one, and then we're going to go to the third one, agenda item number 3, and then we're going to go back to number 2. So the first one is a minor subdivision, a request for extension. It's case number 21-048 MI. It's 56 Pratt Street, and go right ahead, sir. State your name and your address for the record before you kick off.
Alfred Swan, 56 Pratt Street, Providence, Rhode Island.
Thank you, sir.
906.
And go right ahead.
I don't have my words or a big presentation. I'm just respectfully requesting that the commission extend the approval for 1 year.
Okay.
On this.
And is there any extenuating circumstances or anything?
Extenuating availability of contractor, funding contractor.
Those are two things we hear a lot about. Yes.
This was one, you may remember that in order for this subdivision to be finalized, a garage has to be demolished. And so I think that's essentially what you're waiting on.
And incidentally, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to do this, but I did contact the Historic Commission, who had granted the unanimous approval a month before I came to this commission. And Jason Martin, I had shown on prior to the meeting, he did approve the 1 year extension.
Okay, so you already have HDC approval for extension.
Yeah, he sent it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, that, without that, I would have been able to get the approval from this commission.
Okay.
Because of the alteration.
Any questions of the applicant?
No, I'd like to just make a motion to approve the
Do we,
extension
is this a public hearing? Do we need to take?
You
No?
do- you
Okay.
don't need to.
All right,
for case number 21-048MI 56 Pratt Street.
okay, we have a
1
motion.
year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, go around. Noel,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye,
Nicole,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
thank you very much.
No problem, sir. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, now, again, we're going a little out of order. We're gonna jump to agenda item number 3. This is a major land development project. Case number 22-033 MA. It's 116 Waterman Street. And it looks like Attorney Garrahy is representing the applicant.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you, members of the commission, John Garrett on behalf of the applicant. So this is a request for a continuance of this for 1 month. I note that we originally thought it was going to be on January 17th. As a result of your discussions earlier, I would ask that it be continued to a date certain of January 24th, 2023. This project is not slowing down, but we want to have sufficient community involvement. We've notified the neighbors and the council people with respect to this continuance in the hopes that, they all didn't have to come to this meeting. So we would request a continuance to January 24th, 2023 with respect to this matter.
Okay, any questions for the applicant?
No.
All right,
Make a motion to continue the date certain.
of January 24th, 2023.
Yeah, good. And because this is at the applicant's request, you agree that all the timeframes will be told.
I do.
Thank you.
We need to get him to sign something to that effect.
No.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so we have a motion. We have a second from Noel. We'll go around. Noel,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye,
Nicole,
Aye.
and I vote aye. We'll see you back here on
Thank you.
January 24th,
Yeah,
2020.
just note for the record that no further notice will be required when we have made the notice.
That's
And I
correct.
presented to Cheyenne the certificate of mailings and everything.
Yeah.
All right, then we'll move right into case number 2, going backwards, which is a major land development project public hearing. It's case number 22-012 MA, 189 to 200 Swan Street. Applicant is the Paletta Group, and I believe Attorney Garrahy is also representing the applicant here.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, John Garrett on behalf of the applicant. So you've seen this as a master plan presentation previously. AJ Coletta and his family are developing this project and have spent significant time and effort with respect to this project, as we've indicated to you before. This isn't a glitzy project. It's an industrial commercial project in Lower South Providence.
Before you get going too deep into this, let's have Choyan introduce the project, and then you can continue with your presentation.
And before Joanne does that, AJ, are you the Coletta Group? Okay.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. And commissioners, this doesn't require too much of introduction because you're probably familiar with this project when it came before us for master plan approval earlier this year. So the applicant is back with preliminary plan approval with more detailed plans for construction of the two proposed industrial buildings on the site. They will feature a combination of office space as well as industrial uses, and the applicant will provide more detail on what those uses would entail. And besides that, the applicant will be talking about things like drainage, landscaping, lighting, as well as building design in more detail, which is what we see at this stage. So I can let the applicant take it from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I indicated, not a glitzy type of project like you usually see, but a really purposeful one, which is going to provide jobs in this area which is much needed. And I'll also say this, there is a property over here, a development of multifamily home that's been crime ridden for a long time. And the Coletta family has really made an effort to acquire this property. And then they finally have an agreement to purchase this property, which has been troublesome for this area particularly. And this is going to certainly clean up that area and provide a safe, secure environment for these companies that are going to be going here. So it really has taken an effort to get this far, that we've gone to the council with respect to the abandonment of Swan Street. In the street, Sales Street, excuse me. So it's really taken an effort to do this, and we're finally getting to the point where there's going to be creation of jobs in this area. I'm going to let AJ take it from there. He has the engineer and the architect on remote here. And I'm going to watch it, and not with disrespect, but I'm going to have to leave a little bit early, so I may leave halfway through the presentation. But just so you know, I'm not walking out because of any disrespect.
Is there anyone else we need to promote to panelists that you have in the waiting room?
Yes.
If you're,
Could we do it based on the slide? I have a slide presentation with each slide. I'd like to see if I can just ask that person to step in as panelists, or should we do it?
we should probably get them promoted so that they're ready to chime in.
Yep.
Nathaniel Carden, architect. And Brad from Waterman Engineering.
Excuse me, and one more thing I'd just like to say to the applicant is that you are requesting a waiver from submission of state approval at this stage, so I just request that you add that to your testimony.
It's part of the presentation.
Wonderful. We expect some beautiful renderings like the last time you were here. I'm sure you won't disappoint.
I am ready.
All right.
Could my screen be shared?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do
You
that.
should have permission.
Okay.
What I was talking
It's a
about.
little laggy, but thank you. My name is AJ Coletta. I am with the Coletta Group. Address is 189 through 200 Swan Street in Providence. This is the preliminary review. What I'm showing you now is the campus fly-through. It's a 3D campus fly-through that we are proposing. We have 2 existing buildings, and what you're seeing as we fly through the campus is the 2 newer buildings. But at this time, I wanted to introduce the team. We have Brad from Waterman Engineering, who is our civil engineer. He'll be speaking after the next slide. Nathaniel Carden, who is our architect. Megan Gardner, who is our landscape architect. Sue, who is handling the lighting, and of course, Attorney John Gallagher. So you asked for some really cool graphics that give you an idea of the campus. By the way, this video, as well as all of the plans, are available on our website, swanpdd.com. So they are up there now. If the public would like to see, feel free to log on to Swan PDD. You can see this and so much more. But right now, we're taking you to the inside of 200 Swan Street, which is the proposed 15,000 square foot high bay building. I'm going to let Nathaniel Carter speak more to this. He is our fantastic architect. Excuse me, who is modeled all of this. But you can see it has a really nice campus consistency. We're well aware of the importance of that, and that's been modeled in along with the lighting and the landscape. We'll go to the next slide. Okay. So in April, we earned master plan approval. We just had our basic conceptual plans to lay out the two new commercial buildings. Now that we've gone through the checklist, we feel we've satisfied everything that's required for preliminary/final, and look forward to sharing our progress with you. Again, all of this is available on our website, Swan. We have four main plans to share: the civil plan, architectural, lighting, and landscape. And at this time, I would like to ask if Brad from Waterman Engineering can be granted the opportunity to speak. He's remote. Is that possible?
Yeah, both of your team members have already been promoted, so they should be able to unmute themselves and talk.
So I should stop share,
No,
correct?
you should,
No, he
you can
can,
talk.
he should be able to talk.
Okay.
Brad?
Brad,
Yes, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Oh, all right. You need to turn the volume off on your computer and
Actually,
Br-
your mic too.
yeah,
No,
so,
your mic on your computer.
yeah, the microphone on your computer.
Yeah, because we're gonna turn up the volume. on
Yeah,
this.
so Brad, can you say hi?
Just one moment. Let me see if I can turn.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I see. Oh, I see what's going on. Wait a minute. That's
Try that.
weird. Okay. Brad, hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
That's perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, what is Brad?
All right, can everyone see? My name is Brad Travers from Waterman Engineering, 4 Sutton Avenue in East Providence. We've been working with AJ and Nathaniel on the site design. I'm not sure if everyone can see my screen here. Copy the plan.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, okay, great. So I'll like AJ mentioned, John mentioned, we received master plan approval back in April. The site layout's a little bit different, but the concept's the same. It's still an overall campus layout, similar to the same design, just a little more detail with parking, access, utilities, drainage, and such. You can see the two existing buildings. One right here on the north side of Swan Street. That's the existing Crossbones facility. And then the existing building on the south side of Swan. I'm sure everyone remembers, but Swan right here and Sales were previously abandoned before master plan previously. And that's part of the campus design now. So access and utilities will come off the abandoned Swan Street. Allow for traffic and pedestrian circulation throughout the site. The parking for the two existing buildings are similar to the layout that's there now, with some additional parking between two buildings on the north side and the two buildings on the south side. This building on the north side is one of the new proposed buildings, just over 7,000 square feet. And the building on the south side, just under 16,000 square feet. That's this one right here. So I can take you to the drainage plan and kind of give you an idea of what we did from a drainage perspective. So the main concept for the drainage, I believe it was in the recommendation report that was given for the summary of tonight's meeting, but this does require DEM approval. So these plans are currently at DEM being reviewed, and that'll be part of what's provided come final approval. But the main concept for the drainage is there's 4 different areas. They're going to use storm tech infiltration chambers we have 5 proposed deep sump catch basins. 1 at the low end of the site down in this area, one in the main parking lot area on the south side, one on the east side of the parking lot in the existing parking area, and then one on the northern side here. And then also one on the south side, roughly in the location of these two existing catch basins that are here now that kind of funnel the existing Swan Street drainage. So the drainage now, for the most part, it's about half impervious, with the other half mostly vacant, which is now going to be covered with building and existing parking areas. The drainage will funnel into these new catch basin areas, go into isolator rows, where all the sediment will be picked up in the deep sump and the isolator rows of the chambers, and then eventually overflow to travel throughout the system, and eventually overflow into the city drainage that's in the street. I'm not sure if it was provided to everyone, but there was a summary of the drainage that was provided that shows the intent of what we show is to minimize the peak flow and volume of the stormwater drainage to be less than what's existing right now. So not only will those peak flows and volumes be reduced, but there'll also be water quality with the isolator rows and with the deep sump catch basins, which eventually have to be maintained over time, cleaned out over time, and provide the water quality that's not really out here right now. So I anticipate DEM will look favorable upon the drainage design, and any comments they give, obviously will be addressed as part of final submission, and that permit will be provided, upon final plan submission. Other aspects of the site, there are some dumpster areas down the end of the street, which will be the dumpster areas for this development, as well as a transformer pad on the north side of the road in this location, and a transformer pad in this location as well. And even though it is kind of a north side and a south side, it is really developed to be one overall campus and to kind of flow with everything from access, utilities, drainage, and kind of look like one overall development. That was kind of the intent of the site plans. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And Nathaniel, I'm sure, can go over the intent and design of the proposed buildings.
Quickly before you sign off,
Sure.
the dumpster enclosure area, that's going to be fenced in, I assume. That's what
Yes, that's
is.
correct.
I didn't see a design for that. And then, have you gotten any feedback from DEM? Have they issued any comments?
No, we haven't gotten any feedback. It wasn't submitted too long ago, but the post volumes and peaks are well beyond what DEM requires as far as the water quality as well. So I don't anticipate any crazy comments to come back, but surely those will be addressed once we hear back from them.
And is that the only state permit you are asking for a waiver on?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad, would you mind disabling your sharing?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Brad, would you mind disabling your sharing? So we can get back to, I'll continue through here. Let's see, share screen. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that. Let's just go back to the slideshow. On Friday, this is the notification that DEM did indeed receive our submission. So because it was just on Friday, really haven't had time to respond. Next up, we have Nathaniel Carden, our architect.
Let me make, AJ, before I leave, just a couple of comments that I'd like to make, and then I have to just leave. For the record, AJ had done a certification of mailing with respect to the notice in the newspaper and the certified mail notices that were sent to abutters within 200 feet. So I want that known for the record. I'd also like to know for the record is that this is going to be part of an administrative subdivision as part of this process with respect to incorporating the streets which have been abandoned into the subdivision. That those deeds and the overall process we have in place waiting for this hearing, and then we'll do an administrative subdivision
as part of this process in order to incorporate the streets and all of those lots, which were formerly smaller lots, into two lots, one above Swan Street and one below Swan Street. So that is in process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Attorney Gary.
Thanks. I'd now like to switch over to Nathaniel Carden, our architect, if we can give him. Nathaniel Carden, our architect, if we can give Nathaniel the rights to present.
Yes, I'm here, AJ, and I've got the ability to share my screen. Thanks so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your consideration today. I'm Nathaniel Carden, 8 Ernest Ave, Boston, Massachusetts. I've been working with the Coletta Group on this project. Okay, and I'll just open up the architectural drawings here. Everyone can hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and you can see the drawings up on the screen?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes, we see your screen. Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, as you can see from the renderings thus far, the walkthrough that we made and the other materials, we're proposing to create a united campus consisting of the 2 existing buildings, the 2 new buildings proposed, and the related site improvements. The campus is intended to be flexible for mixed general industrial, auxiliary office, and some storage uses or possible storage uses. The existing tenants, I've gone over those a little bit, but Crossbones Dog Training Facility is at 189 Swan. The compost plant, doing a great service for the city of Providence, is a compost collection company. They're at 190 Swan Street, as well as US Ecology. They're an environmental trucking subsidiary of Republic Services. These 2 new buildings would provide new opportunities for existing tenants to be able to grow and for new tenants to be able to find a home for their businesses. The 2 new buildings at 199 and 200 Swan Street, they're positioned to be street facing with new sidewalks provided on either side, parking located between the buildings to kind of enhance the urban condition and the pedestrian experience along Swan Street. Vehicular and bike parking are provided for each building. 189 Crossbones was granted a parking adjustment during the master planning process from 16 to 9 spaces. We've provided 10 in this plan. 190 has about 4 spaces required. We provided 5. Just kind of giving a quick summary of the parking here. 199 is about 1,000 square feet of office, assuming 7 additional employees in the industrial space. So that would require 4 spaces, and we've provided 7 there. And 200 Swan, we have 1,500 square feet of office, and are assuming about 8 employees in that building. So about 5 spaces required and 5 provided there, in addition to storage capabilities in the building. There are proposed trees and plantings that soften the site to the greatest extent possible, meeting tree canopy requirements, beautifying the campus, building entries. And although a considerable quantity of asphalt is required for the vehicular truck movements, the new buildings utilize pre-engineered metal structures to create high bay areas for flexible use. And there's portions of the buildings at the main entries with flat roofs that have kind of a distinguished siding for office locations, and also a place to put mechanical units. Some examples of our sustainability considerations are to make the south-facing sloped roofs solar ready, and to use efficient heat pump systems for heating and cooling of the office spaces. You can see that there's various metal siding layouts, colors, and profiles that are used as the primary exterior cladding material, along with some concrete block walls at the property lines, which meet the fire resistance rating requirements for the building code. The main entries are treated with steel canopies, storefront door and window systems, and are distinguished by siding orientation and color contrast. Most of the high bay areas would be semi-conditioned with overhead radiant heaters. And we're using some overhead doors, which would facilitate storage, loading, delivery needs, and some mezzanine areas in each new building, which are strategically placed to maximize the use of the tall volumes. There's high clear-story windows, which are proposed to help daylight the spaces. And we're proposing a dark raised metal numbering and signage, which could identify each building with a contrast to the siding color. The tallest point of each of the new structures is about 30 feet at the roof ridge, which is well within the zoning maximum height of 75 feet in the district. Both new buildings would be equipped with fire sprinkler systems. And just the overall strategy for unifying the campus design is to implement a warm family of colors and to allow for each building to have its own unique characteristics while at the same time feeling like a campus. Just to give you an overview of kind of the painting strategies, 199 Swan in the back towards the highway would be repainted with a terracotta or like a red color. 190 Swan would be mainly as is, sort of a light cream color. 200 it's kind of a tan, and then kind of getting darker to a light brown colors for this sort of gradient with gray accents. And we really hope to see this project come to life with buzzing business activities so that it can foster enhanced safety and become a major improvement to the South Providence area.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Did you want to go to the next slide, Nathaniel, the lighting,
Yes.
the lighting plan?
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll go ahead and present the lighting strategies as well as the landscape strategies for the site. Okay, so you can see the lighting plan now.
Yes.
Yeah, all right, great. So the campus is proposed to be primarily lit with building mounted light fixtures that provide a reasonable amount of illuminance throughout, and that but without exceeding spillover thresholds onto the neighboring properties. We've picked a sort of decorative gooseneck lighting that's utilized in the pedestrian areas like sidewalks and entry walkways, and the entry canopies would have a recessed light. There are some freestanding bollards, which would be located on the north side of 200 Swan, and those are providing lighting along the sidewalk where building mounted lighting would be blocked by the proposed trees. There is an existing utility pole mounted sort of Cobra light, usually they're called. We're assuming that will remain, and it provides central lighting mainly for vehicular movements. And there's wall pack units with a bit of a higher output that are located over the overhead doors and at the flat roof technician type areas for the dark months and where operations or maintenance could be happening at night. That maximizes safety lighting in those central areas, but again, without spilling over the property line. The renderings that you see here were provided by Sue and her team at Apex Lighting, and it really illustrates the strategy that we're going for here. And you know, the illuminance plan shows the levels at the property lines so that we're remaining respectful to the neighbors.
One quick question. I have to assume that the existing light that's to remain is not reflected on these photometrics?
It is actually, that's one thing that we had Sue and her team address. There's, I can draw a circle on it. Basically this light here, that's the sort of Cobra light at the top of the utility pole.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and then I can just quickly go through the landscape plan as well. Make that a little bit larger. Okay, yep, we had Megan Gardner as the landscape architect for this project. She helped us turn our preliminary plan and renderings into a viable planting strategy. It's great working with her. She's with Providence Parks. Given the amount of hardscape on the site, meeting the 15% tree canopy coverage requirement was a primary concern. The campus is about 90,000 square feet overall, which requires about 13,500 roughly square feet of tree canopy area. And with her help, we were able to exceed that requirement. We're providing about 14,400, as you can see on the plan here. Because there are many truck movements expected, some of the tree species are columnar in shape, taller, skinnier, such as the hornbeam or the columnar maple that you can see in the planting key. There are also flowering plants and trees such as the fringe and the maidenhair, which would not only make the campus pretty, but would also help to promote pollinators, which is a critical environmental concern, and especially in urban environments. Megan helped to select trees such as ginkgo and black gum, and the plantings would provide a variety of color throughout the campus, while trying to primarily specify native species. There are some arborvitaes that are planted along the edge of the neighboring residential property, which would provide a screen between the properties basically, and would also block some of the light. There's a egress pathway at 199 Swan that would have some motion sensor lights. So we coordinated that with the lighting designer to make sure that there's no spillover there. And we're planning to do a 1-year maintenance warranty with the landscape supplier to help ensure that the species take to ground and last.
Are you planning any landscape irrigation?
We don't currently have a plan to do automated irrigation. That's why we were focused mostly on the native species. And we're working with Megan to basically specify that maintenance plan for the year after planting, so that the plants can have a good chance.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on when you plant them. Have you had any conversations with the city forester about this landscape plan? Have they commented at all?
AJ's been in contact with the city forester. Has he seen the most recent plan, AJ?
Yeah, so specifically with the species proposed.
She actually, Megan actually has spoken to Doug Still, the previous forester, because she used to work with him for years. So the new forester, AJ Elton, I think he has seen it and has given some guidance, but all of the species are compliant within the list.
Okay, great.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'll hand it back to AJ so he can present.
Thank you. And then just a couple of extra slides here. Thank you, Nathaniel, for that. Lighting, landscape. Again, I want to emphasize that we've exceeded the canopy coverage. It's required to have over 13,000 and we're over 14. This is a wonderful relationship we've established over the last 2 years. The folks at Groundwork Rhode Island, they asked us 2 years ago if we have some vacant space where they could stage some trees while they're planting them in the, oh, I'm sorry, you can't see that. I apologize. I'm sorry. 1 second. My bad.
Speaking of the microphones.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you. You can see that now. We had the opportunity to meet with the folks at Groundwork Rhode Island 2 years ago. They asked if we had some vacant area where they could just stage some trees, leave some trees while they were planting them in the Washington Park area and the Port of Providence. They needed a central location to just leave these trees and water them while they were planting them in the spring and fall. And we said, absolutely, happy to do that. So you're seeing 2 photos here of our vacant lots on Swan Street, where they brought in over 150 trees that we allowed them to store for several months. And during this time, we really became close as far as explaining what our project is all about. And they said, when it comes time, please let us quote you on the planting for your landscape, and of course offer a maintenance plan for afterwards. So it was just this wonderful opportunity for us to help them out. And of course, with our development, we have this wonderful partnership with Groundworks. Next up, Attorney Gary, he mentioned the administrative subdivision and that we have indeed merged the lots. We now have lot 843 and 844. So all of the small lots have been merged into two parcels, parcel X and Y, north and south. John did allude to that we are in a purchase and sales agreement with the abutting lot 120. We do have a purchase and sales agreement, and we hope to close on that next week. That lot will be absorbed into the campus. The green area is the campus here, and we plan to, excuse me, absorb that in and then abandon that portion of Swan Street. We've abandoned this portion from this end to the dead end where it terminates, but this will complete the campus as far as its complete entity. We've received wonderful support from the city, especially Councilman Espinal, who is aware that there is significant blight in public safety issues on Swan Street that we've worked to remediate. He said that this project is indeed vital to the economic and environmental sustainability of the ward. So he's been a wonderful supporter throughout the process. And I think that is the last slide. Yes, this is just the video again.
Okay.
Can we answer questions or comments?
Okay, so you're done with your presentation?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Members of the commission, do you have any questions for the applicant?
None from me.
I have a few. So if, when you purchase that multifamily, will it be demolished?
Yes.
And then is there a plan for the space, or will it just be space?
There is, but we didn't want to present it this evening because we weren't really prepared for that.
Right.
But we have started to sketch out what we are going to do with the space. Essentially, 199 Swan, that high bay building will grow into that 5,000 square foot lot that we're taking over. And of course, we'll accommodate the landscape and the parking, everything that we're showing today for this enlarged building. I was told that we'll need to come back for another hearing for that. Is that correct? Tryon, we discussed this, that with that addition, we would need to come back for another hearing.
It would depend on the size of the addition.
Okay.
If it would qualify as what's called a major change, or if whatever you're proposing would trigger land development approval. So it would depend on what you propose on site.
Okay. We're still sketching it out. We do have an idea.
And the land that's under the billboards on the highway, you don't own that land?
Correct. We do not own that land. So they do have an easement. Both lots that are the billboards at the end, they have a full easement to their lots on both sides.
Through Swan Street and all.
And Saled Street, right? We abandoned both Swan and Saled Street. So that's correct.
Harry, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No, I'm just, I have only compliments, first of all, the graphics are wonderful.
Thank you.
And, no, but the fact that you carried this along and carried it forward and have brought it so into maturity is just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing that you've done, I think.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's all
I'm almost surprised that you didn't attempt to become a registered architect after the last meeting and go at it yourself instead of hiring an architect. But
thank you. That's
neither here nor there. All right. Any other questions before we open it up to the staff report and open up the public comment?
No, I think my only other comment was about the tree, the landscaping.
Mhm.
I'm very happy to put more trees there, and I live in the neighborhood, and it's also one of the more environmentally rough areas of the city.
Sure is.
And and I was just noticing that the east side of the abandoned street on South Sales Street had some room. I mean, I don't know, for additional landscaping if possible.
Well, we own only a portion of that. Our abutters to the south, the Rollins, own the other portion. So we
Oh,
really,
I see.
we don't have
No, I
much
thought-
there.
I thought you owned the whole thing.
But again, we did exceed the canopy coverage.
No, I'm happy for that.
And it makes the campus. I mean, when we were able to show the trees and the rest of the landscaping, it just made it pop. And if you go down Swan Street now, you can see it's the exact opposite. You do not have that feeling. And what we're proposing is just rich. It's lush. I would think anyone would say, I want to be part of this campus. I want to work there. It's a great location, and what we're proposing is just a incredible improvement, creating a safe area. And that's been our biggest challenge, that we have an abutter that is causing some real concerns, which was mentioned at the master plan.
Right.
And we've done everything we can to secure that as far as getting the purchase and sales agreement and hopefully closing next week.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Excuse me.
With that, we'll hear the staff report and then we'll open it up to public comment. Thank you, Mr. Coletta.
Great, thanks, Mr. Chair. And based on the applicant's presentation, you will see that the dimensions and design conform to the requirements of the ordinance as they pertain to the zone. As the applicant will conform to the landscaping requirement based on the plan that they presented. They have submitted a drainage management plan, which has been spoken about, and they do conform to the parking as well as the lighting requirements of the ordinance. And they have requested a waiver from submission of state approvals. And as described, they have submitted it to the required body and are in process of approval. So based on that, we would recommend that you find the plan to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, given that it conforms to the intent of the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, which intends this area for business and mixed use development. The industrial general use conforms to the MMU 75 zoning, as does the dimension and site design of the buildings as described. They conform to the parking, landscaping, as well as lighting requirements. We don't foresee a negative environmental impact, as they intend to come into conformance with applicable regulations. These will be buildable lots that don't pose any constraints to development, and adequate street access will be provided from Swan Street. So based on that, we would first recommend that you grant the waiver from submission of state approvals, finding that it would be required in the interest of good planning practice. And it should be granted subject to the condition that those approvals be submitted with the final plan submission, and that the applicant return to the CPC should those waivers result in a change to, or rather, should the approvals result in a change to the approved plan. And following that, we recommend that you approve the preliminary plan subject to these conditions, that the drainage plan be subject to the approval of the city engineer, the landscape plan be subject to the city forester's approval, and finally, that you delegate final plan approval to DPD staff.
Thank you, Joanne. With that, we will open it up to public comment. We will ask people in the audience here if anyone is in attendance, but also if you're at home and you'd like to speak on this agenda item. Again, it's agenda item number 2, 189 to 200 Swan Street. Please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. Is there anyone here in attendance who would like to speak on this agenda item? We see no one in the sign-up sheet. Oh, there's someone here. All right. Mr. Coletta, if you please go ahead and sit back down and
Yes.
we'll.
You can go to the table.
Right, then use the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and then please proceed.
My name is Cedric Russell. My address is 414 Friendship. I'm a native from Providence, Rhode Island. I'm born and raised from lower south side of Providence. And one thing that I heard that really troubled me was he said that he abandoned those areas in Sale Street, I heard, and I just want to know like what does that entail to abandon a whole street?
So he went through a process with a recommendation from the planning commission, that's us, through city council to abandon and purchase those streets so that they're now privately owned as opposed to public right of ways.
And another major concern that I had, we're going through a huge housing pandemic. There in that area specifically, that area has been gentrified like never before. I spent 34 years in that area, and to hear that he's going to gentrify that area for 5 office spaces, like people need somewhere to live, especially in that area. And I think that that's not humane to go through with this process. And that's how I feel. And that's just what I want to speak on.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here in attendance or anyone at home who would care to comment on this matter? Again, 3, 2, 1, and we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. Commissioners, it's time for us to deliberate and decide. Any discussion? I think it's a pretty straightforward. This is the project we've seen before that nothing really substantial has changed. I have no issue with the waivers request or the waiver requested. And I think it's appropriate for this area.
I agree. I'm happy to make a motion first, starting off with that we grant a waiver from the subdivision of state approvals at the preliminary stage, finding that's required and in the interest of good planning practice.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll go around for a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
So I have a question about that.
Yes, sir.
Because we approve or we get presented waivers often, requests for waivers. Is this just something that we need to change in the process?
So it is,
That later.
yeah.
Well, I can
I
actually
understand,
speak,
but-
I can speak to that. I can speak to that very briefly. State law requires site engineering at the preliminary plan stage.
So it's not our-
So we
not the city
don't
plan.
have the ability to change that.
And then often the lead times for DEM, DOT, those state agencies are
Much
so
longer. I
excessive
understand. Yeah.
timeframes, and we don't want to hold up the approval of a project in lieu of that.
And it's curiosity mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary plan after having granted the waiver based on what we've heard today and what was presented, subject to the conditions that 1, the drainage plan shall be subject to the approval of the city engineer. 2, the landscape plan shall be subject to the city engineer's
City forester.
forester's
That was a
approval.
misprint.
And 3, final plan approval should be granted to DPD staff.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll go around with another voice vote. Noel,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Best of luck, Mr. Coletta.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
And with that, we will roll right into agenda item back in order. Agenda item number 4. This is a minor land development project. It's case number 22-056. It's 300 Valley Street. And while the applicant's coming forward, Choyan, would you like to introduce this agenda item?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll provide a quick introduction while we're getting set up. So this is a request to construct a 52-unit, 5-story building that will be approximately 67 foot tall. And it's on a lot that's in the MMU 75 zone that's located on the corner of Valley and Newark Streets. And the applicant will be providing internal structured parking or rather internal parking to cover a portion of the parking. And they will meet the parking requirement, and they will be talking to you about the design of the building, the layout, as well as parking, landscaping, and other items that you see at this stage. And they are requesting preliminary plan approval for minor land development project.
Okay, thank you very much, Troyan. And applicant, please state your names and addresses for the record and proceed with your presentation.
Chairman, Peter Petracca for the applicant. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you.
This is Feliciano.
Go ahead. We'll do one at a time here.
Liz Feliciano for Ed Wojcik Architect in Providence.
John Rissica. I'm the owner of the property.
And then our friend at home, can you please reintroduce yourself? We got cut off there.
Sure. Peter Petracca for the applicant. Also, I believe on the call is David D'Amico and Peter Casali. Chairman, with your consideration, the applicant's proposing to raise the existing, it's a former bakery at this location, and construct a 52-unit, 5-story apartment building with 52 storage units sized to fit bicycles. As Joanna already told you, there will be parking that will be provided within the confines of the property. And there will be one integral rental office within the location. The height of the location will be 67 feet. The proposed design complies with all use and dimensional variances, so no variances are necessary on this project. And all other agencies have been informed of the project, and any of their questions or concerns have been addressed at this time. So at this time, I would like to introduce Liz Feliciano of Ed Wojcik Architecture to go over the project for you and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much.
We're trying to get connected here.
Go back to the attendee.
Yeah, I've tried to promote you to a panelist 3 or 4 times and it hasn't worked.
So I'll leave and try again.
We could try that. On the other hand, I could try to share my screen and then you could just based on the submission. We could do that.
Sure.
Oh, actually, wait a minute. Oh, no, you left.
Let's give it one last.
Let's give it one last
One more.
try.
We're getting good at these hybrid meetings, but there's always something that can come about.
I think that worked.
Yep.
Success.
I can share my screen.
Yep, go ahead.
So 11 Newark Street is an MU 75 property with an existing bakery to be demolished. With 75 feet of height, it allowed us to fit 4 floors of units for apartments above podium parking and storage. It's a mix of studios, 2 bedrooms, and 1 bedrooms. It's a Lego style layout where you can mix 1-bedrooms, 2 1-bedrooms equals a 2-bedroom and a studio. I'll go to the site plan. We were able to fit 52 units in the building and 52 parking spaces on the site. Allows storage and 2 entrances on Valley and Newark Street. Storage will include the bikes. So no relief is required for the parking. It also will have a leasing office, and so first floor is mostly amenities. Materials for Valley Street, we have some glass with wood trim details up the stairwell. Larger bays for the living units, living areas. More of a simple modern construction with fiber cement siding. We can review other drawings with questions.
One thing to note about this is that while it's in the MMU zone, it abuts the R3 zone to the west and to the south. With Newark Street considered the front yard, they maintain a 10-foot setback to the west, which is required. And then you'll notice that there's a notch in the building. That's because they're across the street from a residential zone for that portion, about half of the site there. So that portion has to be set back away from the residential zone. So they have satisfied that.
Was Peter gonna say anything?
Does that conclude your presentation?
Is Peter on the call?
Peter Casale is also.
Oh, Peter is on the call and he is promoted to a panelist if he wants to talk.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Bob and Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just to follow up, I was involved in the layout and design with the eye towards compliance with the ordinance, which is usually my role. We took great care in making sure that we, dotted all the I's and crossed the T's for this one. Fully compliant with all of the dimensional standards, as Attorney Petrarca and Liz alluded to. One-to-one parking for each of the units, and a very nice fit for a prominent corner in the Valley section. And we'd be happy to take any questions of the board at this time that you may have.
Are you exempt from stormwater?
We are
Within
exempt
sidewalk?
in the sense for the city's design criteria, we're exempt, but for Narragansett Bay Commission, we have a full stormwater plan. Engineer David D'Amico could speak further to the specifics of that.
David.
Just a high level. It's fine.
High level.
Yep. You just introduce yourself and
Thank you. Thank you, board members. Good evening. My name is David D'Amico, and I am a professional licensed engineer in the state of Rhode Island with the firm D'Amico Engineering Technologies, with offices at 2080 Mineral Spring Avenue in North Providence. And I was commissioned to do the civil engineering, and in looking at this site, one of the positive things about this site is that the drainage and the sewer is separated in this section. So it does allow us to tie into the drainage, some of the drainage into it. But we take a pretty aggressive approach. What we did was we're gonna, because I introduced the permeable pavement system to the to the owner, and he would like to deploy a permeable pavement system, which is a very positive system. It assists us in groundwater recharge and water quality, and it also reduces runoff to the system. So that's what we do. So essentially, the parking that is under the stars, because we have some parking under the building itself, that will all be permeable pavement. And then we take the roof runoff and we outfall that into a rain garden storage area in the western portion of the site and along Newark Street, and that will be planted with plants that is conducive to that environment. And then we can make that tie-in. So we have a large reduction in runoff, and it just adds capacity to your overall system by doing that. So that's what we propose here.
You made the owner aware of the maintenance obligations of the permeable pavement, you know, the liquid de-icers, the vacuuming of it every so often, because you don't maintain it as intended, it becomes pervious.
It could be, yes, it could be a problem. You know, the biggest thing, we will have to generally do a operation and maintenance document. That's generally what NBC will be looking for a system like this. And you know, I'm pretty experienced in doing that all over the state, so we have that ready to go. And I do, you know, most of the time it's with DM that we propose this system. It is in the stormwater manual.
Yep.
So.
All right. Does that conclude your presentation? Can I open it up to questions from the commission?
I could just add, with all the utility connections will be on Newark Street, so we have all ample utilities and they should be ready to go.
Okay. Wonderful. Members of the commission, do you have any questions for the applicant before we hear the staff report? No and no. Noel?
No.
No? All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. This time we'll hear the staff report and then open it up to public comment.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So as the applicant has presented, this is located in the MMU 75 zone where multifamily development is encouraged. And as far as the dimensions go, the height is within the 75-foot height limit of the zone. And as has been shown, the applicant will meet the required setbacks from the adjoining residential zone. And also, we find that the building would meet the design requirements for multifamily development as outlined in the ordinance. The applicant intends to plant street trees to meet the canopy coverage requirement, which we believe that they will meet. And the forester recommended that they use medium-sized trees. They will meet the parking requirement for both vehicles as well as bicycles, with storage spaces on the ground floor providing adequate space for bicycle storage. And also, as has just been discussed, they will provide drainage and erosion control during construction, and they will meet those requirements. So based on that, we find this to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, as the site is located in an area that's intended for business and commercial development, which also encourages multifamily development. The use is permitted by right in the MMU 75 zone. The applicant will meet the dimension, parking, and landscaping requirements as discussed. We don't foresee a negative environmental impact. There are no physical constraints that impact development of the property, and adequate street access will be provided from Valley and Newark streets. So based on that, we recommend that you approve the preliminary plan subject to these conditions. One, that the validity of the plan be extended to 1 year from the 90-day expiration of the recorded approval letter. The applicant has submitted a written request in this regard. The landscaping plan shall be subject to the city forester's approval. Drainage calculations shall be subject to the approval of the engineer. And finally, we ask that final plan approval be delegated to DPD staff.
Okay, thank you, Troyan. With that, we are opening the public comment
portion of this agenda item. Again, it's agenda item number 4, case 22-056 MI. If you are joining us virtually, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. Is there anyone here in the room who would like to speak on this matter? Okay, we have one. Would the applicant please go back to your seats, and we're gonna have the public comment portion now. Thank you.
You can stop sharing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Thank you. Please, before you kick off, just state your name and address for the record, please.
John Gallagher, 243 Smith Street, Providence. Excuse my voice. Yeah, when I saw a picture of it, I just felt I had to comment on it. I remember that bakery. Good stuff. But I like the idea. I'm going to tell you what I like, what I don't like. I like the idea that it abuts the sidewalks. You know, we could use some more sidewalk life in Providence. I think too much has been lost. I don't know if you have like a store in mind. Or, I don't know. That's not my concern though. But the architecture, like ultra modern architecture, that bothers me, because this is our environment too. You know, city of Providence, and it seems like there's too much uniformity and square windows. You know, basic cement foundations. I would like to see more of a like a historic detail added to it. It was another commission. It was in this room. They were going to propose to build on North Main Street, you know, in Canal, and they never did build that building. And the first proposal had a modern look, and a lot of people did speak out. They said that they would like to see more of a historic look to it. And they did come back with another plan. You know, they took the considerations. It didn't look like tell you honest truth, you can't beat the architects of the 1800s. But, you know, they did concede somewhat. You know, I would like to see the city look more like an inviting city with detail and character, rather than just bare minimum uniformity. You know, squares, and that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
I don't think you know, what I say is going to make diddly squat, really, but
we appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to comment on this agenda item. Is there anyone else in the virtual world or here in person who would like to speak on this agenda item? If not, speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. We will close the public comment portion of this agenda item and continue into deliberations and decisions. Well, more housing. We are not a design agency. We have certain purviews, so we can't force the group to go back to the drawing board and bring us something else. So I just want to make that clear. That's not under our purview. They do meet the design criteria of the zone, and that's what we can adhere them to.
Can we find out the breakdown of the units? How many numbers?
The unit mix. We can ask the
52.
applicant to come. Can the applicant come back up and let us know the unit mix between studios 1s and 2s?
It's in the package.
It was, I saw it listed out on every floor, but I didn't see a cumulative total.
There is.
What page is it on? Is it on the A4? Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, so we have a total of 8 studios, 28 one-bedrooms and 16 two-bedrooms. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. With a total of 52 units. That's on A4.
On what page? A4?
A4, yeah. So mostly one bedrooms, about half as many two bedrooms, and then half as many again studios.
I feel comfortable. Do you have any discussion, or I feel comfortable making a motion?
Okay,
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the preliminary plan subject to the conditions that I'm gonna list, but based on the record, based on everything that was presented here today, that's what the motion's based on. The conditions are: 1, that the validity of the preliminary plan be extended for 1 year from the 90-day expiration of the recorded approval letter. 2, the landscaping plan shall be subject to the city forester's approval. 3, the drainage calculation shall be subject to the approval of the city engineer. And 4, final plan approval should be delegated to DPD staff.
okay. We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Thank you, Harry. We have a fully formed motion. I'll go around for a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Moving right along. We are now on to agenda item number 5, which is another minor land development project, case number 22-062 MI. It's at 473 Washington Street.
Yeah, I'll hand them all off.
All right, Troy, will introduce this while you guys are getting set up.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. And this is a request to construct a 4-story multifamily building with 27 residential units in the C2 zone. And you may remember that there was a development that you may have probably seen on this site before, but it's been modified since it first came before you. So this is a site that fronts on Washington Street with Batty Street to the east and Whitaker Street to the west, and is currently vacant. So the applicant will be talking about the project's design and the other items that you typically review at this stage. Thanks.
All right, thanks. All right, please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Good evening, Joelle Rocha, attorney for the applicant.
Hi, Eric Suena, managing principal, ZDS Architecture and Interiors.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Go ahead. All right. Well, thank you very much. Happy to be here. Happy holidays to everyone. This is 473 Washington Street Apartments, and we are on a site on the corner of Washington Street and Batty on the west side of Providence, and just a block off of the main drive there on Westminster. The lot size is just over 7,000, not just over, 7871 square feet. Building footprint 7395. This is a 4-story building, C2 zone, and we are proposing 27 units for the property. No parking spaces. We're under the 10,000 square foot lot size threshold for on-site drainage and parking, amongst other things. And we are dedicating the northern corner of the site for a transformer pad that's been coordinated with the power and electric company. 6 bicycle spaces that are accessed from the outside, and a small lobby on the corner of Washington and Batty, which is our entry egress point or ingress point to the property. So this is the first floor plan, showing a very conservative small lobby, mailroom and parcel room. A small arrival vestibule with the parcel room accessed off the vestibule for ease of delivery services. There are 6 units on this first floor, all 1-bedroom units. And our utility and trash room are located on the southern corner of the property. We are intend to frost windows on first floor to still create some daylight into those spaces and meet our zoning ordinances for transparency at first floor. And the trash room exits out onto the alley, which is on the west side of this site. That alley street name is Whitaker Street. And as you move upstairs, we end up with a 2-bedroom unit on the corner over the lobby. And this is your typical floor plan for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor. Materials are familiar, similar to a development that happened just around the corner on West Fountain. Wood veneer at the entry to create a warmer arrival experience. Stone veneer happening along the base of the building with a combination of board and batten cementitious products on the top story, and then a lap siding that's happening on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. This is a view of the building from the corner. I don't know if this board remembers this project, but this was previously submitted as a similar project with enclosed parking at grade, and then a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor condominiums. This is a new application, so not much relevance, but just to show you, or maybe just to remember or to remind others of the what was proposed previously. Photometric plan, just to check the box, but not much happening there. Also showing the lighting package for the exterior of the building, but again, not much happening with regards to any huge lighting moments or experiences on the exterior of the building. And that's the extent of the presentation. Pretty straightforward plan, pretty familiar unit type. Again, mostly 1-bedroom, just a 2-bedroom there at the corner on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors. And I'm sorry to be so brief, but again, a pretty straightforward proposal. So here to answer any questions.
Looks similar to something we've seen before.
Mr. Chair, in fact, you have seen a building on this site before, virtually the same thing. There was an approval, it expired, and essentially, this is not exactly the same. There were a few differences, but it's essentially, it was a 4-story strictly residential building.
Questions from the commissioners? Okay.
No, I think I'm good.
Thank you very much. We will hear the staff report at this time, and we will open it up to public comment.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So as discussed, this project is in conformance with the design and dimensional requirements of the C2 zone. As the applicant has walked you through the project, you will also see that the materials used conform to those that are permitted in the zone. So as discussed, since the site is less than 10,000 square feet, they're not required to provide parking. They will meet the landscaping requirement by providing street trees. And while a stormwater management plan isn't required at this stage, is not required, the applicant will be installing erosion control measures during construction. So based on that, we find that this project is in conformance with the comprehensive plan as it's located in the neighborhood commercial mixed-use development designation of the future land use map of the plan. As discussed, the use, dimension, and landscaping will conform to the ordinance's requirements. We don't foresee negative environmental impact. This is a buildable lot with no constraints to development. And adequate vehicular and pedestrian access will be provided from Washington and Whitaker Street. Based on that, we would recommend that you approve the preliminary plan, finding it to be in conformance with the zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan. Subject to these conditions, the validity of the preliminary plan approval should be extended to 1 year from the expiration of the minor land development approval. The landscaping plan shall be subject to the city forester's approval, and final plan approval should be delegated to DPD staff.
Thank you, Choi-An. With that, we will open this matter up to public comment. This is case number 22-062 MI 473 Washington Street, agenda item number 5. Is there anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Or anyone at home, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. Give you a minute. Well, not a minute, but second to see.
No hands raised, nobody signed up.
With that, we will close the public comment section portion of this agenda item and hand it over to my colleagues for deliberation and decision.
One seems pretty straightforward.
We've approved basically the same
Yeah.
project previously.
Unless there are objections, I will make a motion to approve the preliminary plan based on everything that we heard today. Subject to the following conditions. 1, that the validity of the preliminary plan approval shall be extended to 1 year from the expiration of the minor land development approval. 2, the landscaping plan be subject to the city forester's approval. And 3, final plan shall be delegated to DPD staff.
Just one thing for the record, we did get a letter of support for this project emailed to us in advance of this meeting, I believe. Is that correct?
I believe that was
5 and
322
6.
Washington.
Oh, maybe I didn't be mistaken.
Yeah.
I apologize.
320.
It's for the next agenda item. My apologies.
Strike that. from the
Strike
record.
that.
The motion still holds.
Yes, still need a second.
Well, I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. We'll go around with a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Congratulations and good luck to you as well.
Beginning to be
All right,
Mr. Gallagher.
the next agenda items will be introduced by Bob Azar.
Yeah, all
Where I believe we're going to be combining the next 2 items, agenda item number 6, which is a city council referral number 3535 for 322 Washington Street, and the minor land development submission, case number 22-063 MI, also for 322 Washington Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what you have in front of you is a request for a zoning change. The property is located in the C2 zone. The request is that the property be included within the transit-oriented development overlay zone. In terms of the project, the minor land development project, you actually have in front of you 2 different proposals that are both for your consideration. One is a project that complies with the C2 zone, but requires some dimensional adjustments because of the height restriction and also because of the parking requirement of the C2 zone for a lot of this size. The second option, which would be enabled if the city council changes the zoning to the transit-oriented development zone, would allow for the height that they're proposing by right, and it would also not have a parking requirement. This property is right alongside the service road. It's just north of the TOD zone that runs along Broad Street. And in our opinion, it's a good candidate for inclusion in that. It's our understanding that the developer is presenting 2 options here because they would like to come away with a preliminary plan approval that is not contingent on a rezoning because they are seeking low-income housing tax credits and they feel that their application will be more competitive if they have that clean approval. However, it's our understanding that if the zoning change were to be enacted, they would choose the
the other option that they're presenting to you. So you're gonna see a site with a couple of, it's more or less the same building, but there are some distinct differences. Mainly the fact that they have to provide a lot more parking under the C2 zoning, and it creates, in our opinion, a development that is not as desirable because they have to devote so much of the ground level to parking as opposed to amenity space and apartments. So I think with that, I'm ready to turn it over to the applicants. And if there is solicitor has something to add in a minute, but if there's anybody, am I going to be promoting anybody to a panelist to give the presentation?
Yes, Kim
Kim
Dooley has some slides. So
Okay.
it might make it easier
Okay,
to follow.
fantastic.
Please mute your mic and turn off your speaker on your laptop.
She'll just be showing slides. I'll be doing the speaking.
Perfect.
If that works.
Yeah, that's all right. It's just that it can feed back if your microphone is on. Okay, and
That's Kim right there.
yes.
Hi, Kim.
There. It's called a mirror image. I just want to be clear, and I think Mr. Stolzman will appreciate this. You're going to have to vote on both plans because if they go forward with a zone change, they need a preliminary conditional approval from you to get approval of the zone change from the city council first.
So
Am I
there'll be
correct?
three total votes on this entire, well, actually, more than that. There'll be
You'll
one
vote
for the,
on plan without a zone change. And then you will vote on the zone change and then you will vote on the proposal with a zone change.
okay. That's right. And with the one that with the current zoning, we will need to vote on the dimensional adjustments prior to the preliminary. plan.
That's right.
Okay.
And then on the one that includes the zoning change, there are no dimensional adjustments required.
Good to get how the sausage is made out in the open right up front.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Am I speaking correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, members of the board. My name is Rob Stolzman. I know most of you, for disclosure, Mr. Bilodeau was my first landlord in the city of Providence.
That doesn't
that's how long I know some of you.
that doesn't recuse him.
I think almost everyone on here might have to accuse of that.
If that were the standard, and my Bilodeau Properties keychain finally broke in 1998.
All right, there's the statute right there.
So
We'll sell you another one.
So we've exceeded the statute of limitations. Again, my name is Rob Stolzman. I'm at Adler, Pollock and Sheehan and represent the applicant. The applicant is Lincoln Avenue Capital operating through its affiliate LAC Northeast Development LLC. And with me is Ted Seeley from the applicant. I think we'll approach this as less is more, and give you an overview. Mr. Seeley just described his company and then what he does and what the program is. And I'll start by describing the alternatives on the plans and try to keep our procedural decisions in line with Ms. Dennerman's advice and Bob's advice. First, let me say we very much appreciate the planning department's time and energy on coming up with a strategy that allows us to participate in the 2023 Rhode Island Housing Bond Issuance for Affordable Housing. They run annual or sometimes semi-annual offers for financing. And if we wait until the ordinance change and some of the other pending ordinance changes, which I'll discuss that have been enacted, we couldn't have applied until January and not be heard by you till February or March, missing a whole cycle of financing. So thank you. The property, just for the record, is at 322 Washington Street on the corner of Washington Street and Service Road 1, which is also known as Partington Way. And it's Assessor's Plat 25, Lot 464. It's helpful to know that the lot itself is roughly half an acre, 20,394 square feet. And its current use is a vacant parking lot surrounded by chain link fencing.
While we're on this plan, let me point out to the east, north is at the top of the page, which is helpful. When that doesn't happen, I get all confused. But north is at the top of the page and east is to the right, west is to the left. You'll see and if you drive by there, which most of you are probably familiar with the site, there's a strip of land and some trees, some pine and oak along Service Road currently. That property and almost all of those plantings are owned by DOT. That's part of the DOT right of way. And as I'll describe later, we plan on activating that space in connection with Rhode Island Department of Transportation's Adopt a Spot program. We've also been, when I say we, I should say the applicant is, they're paying for all that. So, but in my enthusiasm, I'll say we. We've also been in contact with Rhode Island Transit Authority, because Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, because there's active bus stops along Service Road 1. And so DOT, the City Planning Department, RIPTA, and to the extent us and other neighbors are discussing shelters and that, we're looking forward to those discussions. Another thing that's unique to this project, well, not unique to this project, I'm sorry, a thing that is exciting about this project, in addition to reactivating the site, is that it's a fully affordable project, and Ted will talk to that in a moment. So again, why are you here? Council and staff did a good job of explaining that. We're asking for minor land development for 76 affordable units. And with the current C2 zoning, a height adjustment to allow it the additional 2 stories at up to 62 feet rather than the 50 feet permitted, and also reducing the parking to 1 space to every two units rather than the 1 space for every unit under your normal apartment program. And then we'll present what I'm calling the TOD plan that shows 81 units, because we put some units on the first floor and reduces the parking a little bit further. To show that we're in compliance with your plan and what the general plan is, let me also mention we're going to show 2 different plans. When we submitted this, your ordinance required a height of 30, I think it was 30 feet for indoor loading. I'm forgetting the exact height, or 18 feet, I'm sorry, for indoor loading. But we knew that there was an ordinance pending that would amend that, which would allow us to bring the loading area indoors for Amazon deliveries and that type of thing. So we have a plan that shows the current C2 zoning without the TOD loading, without the TOD overlay, but with the loading area inside, which allows a much nicer parking configuration. I was thinking we might need 3 plans approved tonight, but the mayor just signed the new ordinance. So we'll modify for final, should you approve this, to show the 2 plans being the current plan with the loading ordinance change, and then the TOD plan. Does that make sense? I apologize for this. This took me weeks to figure out.
No, we're following. You're doing well.
Okay.
Thank you.
So why don't we show the current plan, and I'll walk around the site and show the general parameters of it, and then once I show you the site and how we're going to use it, Ted will tell you about the building. So that's perfect. That's good. So yes, terrific. This shows the indoor. No, this shows the loading the space outside. So let's show the plan with the loading indoors, since now we don't have to worry about this plan any longer. Okay, so this is our base plan with the existing zoning without the TOD overlay, but with loading as recently signed by the mayor. And so the entrance is on the northeast corner. On the corner of Washington, it's set back to 20 feet from the street line. It has orients the activity to the northeast. We'll show a rendering of this later, but it has a nice protected walkway along the Washington Street corridor, parking up at the northwest side. Underneath parking, with this plan, parking would come in under a pavilion or a podium, and parking, cars would come in and off of Washington Street up there. On the southern side, Lyman Street, we have two entrances in and out and our 43 spaces. This plan actually only shows 38 spaces. That's an error on our part. With this plan, should we have to proceed with this and not get the TOD, we'll make some adjustments and provide 43 parking spaces. That's the way it was advertised. 38 would still comply with the waiver, but Mr. Azar Choyan and us, we didn't contemplate moving the loading area inside and that changed the parking dimension. So today when Bob and we all counted them up and we saw we made an error. So for the record, if we have to proceed with this plan, it would be 43 parking spaces.
And I just want to clarify, so you might as well just page up for a second so we can describe what was originally submitted to you and what we've shown online. This has 43 spaces. As you can see, it's a little awkward because the spaces are in a tandem configuration. They did it this way, again, because it's essentially what the ordinance requires. They could have gone down as low as 38 spaces and still been within the 50% reduction that's allowed through a dimensional adjustment, but because of the amount of space they had, they got 43 spaces. You can see where that large loading zone is there. They don't require that anymore because of this new ordinance. So if you scroll to the next page that you were just describing, if we had a little bit more time, they could have noticed this as a 50% reduction to get down to 38 spaces. As you can see where the loading zone is, it's better, it's closer to the door and so forth. The problem with this is that the notice said that there was going to be 43 spaces. So we didn't think you would have had the authority to get down to that 38. They can achieve 43 spaces on this plan by making a handful of these tandem spaces. Better than the previous plan, still 43 spaces. We're confident that they can make that happen. They just didn't have the time to fully draw that out.
And of course, our hope is that we'll do the TOD plan for development in any event. So that's the basic circumference of the site. Let me explain the landscaping a little bit. If we go to the landscaping plan. We've met with the by the way, we've met with the arborist and a technical review meeting as well, and it was all well received and well designed. With me tonight as well, I should mention, is Mr. D'Amico is here. He's done the engineering for the site, and Liz Feliciano from Wojcik Architects, who's done the architecture. Again, they're here to answer questions, but we can go through each level if you'd like. But our hope is to move through this, but certainly satisfy your questions if you have any. So right now there's a very little landscaping on site other than the eastern border of the DOT property. That, of course, as we'll show some renderings of that later, we'll reactivate that space, clean that up with DOT. Along Washington Street, there'll be significant tree plantings, as well as along Lyman Street to the south. We exceed the minimum canopy coverage extensively. There's been some discussion. There's internal shrub beds and plantings as well. So the place will be nice. The landscape will be a nice residential feel to it. And we'll meet all the screening requirements for parking area in your ordinance. With that being said, before I introduce Ted, let me just, we have met with the Department of Planning and Development for pre-application. This was well coordinated with your department. The applicant, Ted, and his colleague, Scott Shaw, met with the West Broadway Neighborhood Association. We've seen their letter. That they provided you a nice extensive letter summarizing their issues. I would also say for the record, and I'll finish up with the rendering of the outside and then we'll move to the inside. there's the outside exterior is just a concept at this point. The applicant has no issues with considering alternative textures and being consistent with other areas. So the notion of putting brick on the building is not a problem. This was the notion of texture. They would like a textured building, something that's interesting. And I think you'll see Liz's work will reflect well on the city here. Additionally, the West Broadway Neighborhood Association raised concerns about a pergola on the roof. The applicant would like to activate the roof and have roof space available for the public, take advantage of the cityscape and overlook the highway, look downtown. But nobody's wedded to a pergola. If after another meeting with the neighborhood, people would prefer open instead of a pergola, that's fine with us. They've also requested us to continue to explore solar panels on the roof. That's something that we're exploring and would like to do. There was concerns about stormwater. David could speak to this directly, but the site was previously permitted for a hotel. It's currently 100% impervious. It's fully designed to absorb, accept, and then discharge stormwater. And if you have any issues on that, we can talk to David in detail about that. There's a request for bicycle parking. The site has ample indoor bicycle parking, like many of the projects you've been hearing lately. Everybody recognizes increased utilization of bicycle transportation. That's part of the project. There was concerns about, not concerns, there was encouragement for us to continue to use energy efficiency. The project will be energy efficient. And, Ted can talk to you about us striving for LEED Silver design, at least at this point. That's where it's the anticipated plan. So let me just show that just to give you a sense. This is from looking at the site from the northeast view. That would be the entrance. The concept is the 6 stories. You'll see there's a pergola on the top. Again, we're not wedded to that. The notion is to texture it with a couple of different layers, give some sense of relief along the sides of the building. And then at the first floor, Liz has designed a walkway underneath the full length of Washington Street. This rendering is under the TOD plan. So let me now go to the TOD plan and show you the only differences with the TOD plan are in the parking area and the use of the first floor. It's basically the same footprint. So if just south of us is the TOD zone now, we extend that up to Washington Street to us, as Bob suggested, and then we would further reduce the outside parking, we'd get rid of the podium and create a more amenity-oriented first floor. And on Washington Street, the trash, I will also mention the trash is all indoors. It gets rolled out and picked up, but neighboring properties won't have to look at it or hear it other than at pickup. Common area rooms, work rooms, and then along on the eastern side, some first floor units. And that takes advantage of that space a little more nicely, keeps the traffic on Lyman Street and allows Washington Street to present as a more pedestrian friendly, more activated pedestrian street. That's the preferred plan. But we have a few steps to go with the city council, and we wouldn't want to be presumptuous. But I think Councilwoman Miller and others in this area will appreciate this. We're optimistic, and we've reached out and have started those discussions already. So this would be the second plan. We'd ask you to approve the TOD plan. Again, the building is roughly the same. Oh, let me mention one more thing. The West Broadway Neighborhood Association raised this issue, and there's studies going on now about the need and the desire to have 3-bedroom affordable units for families with larger families with more children, and we're amenable to that, and they can talk to that. So we're exploring that. That's part of the mix. That's why we're asking for 81 units on the TOD plan. It gives Ted and Scott the opportunity to work with Rhode Island Housing and put that into the mix. The current mix in the base plan for 76 units is 15 studios, 41 1-bedroom, and 20
2-bedroom. So it's got your a fairly good spread. Each floor is a little over 12,000 square feet, 12,195 square feet. And the first floor with the podium parking is 6,735 square feet. So that would be converted to a livable and usable area, not parking. So that's the outside of the building, and I'll introduce Ted, and he'll tell you about the units, a little bit more about the affordable housing program, and then we'll wrap it up and see if you have any questions. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great. Thank you, Attorney Stoltzman.
Thanks, Rob. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ted Seeley. I'm a senior project manager. Yeah, I'm a senior project manager with Lincoln Avenue Capital. I'll just talk briefly about Lincoln Avenue Capital and the project. Lincoln Avenue Capital is an affordable housing developer. We have regional offices in Massachusetts. Our company serves over 50,000 residents and over 105 properties across 18 states. We're a mission-driven organization. We're dedicated to creating high-quality, long-term, affordable, and workforce housing. A little bit about the project here. So as Rob had mentioned, 6 stories, all affordable, comprised of a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and we're considering 3 bedrooms as well at the request of the community. The units would serve households earning 60% of area median income and below. To put this into context, the current proposed rents at 60% of AMI would be $1,015 for a studio, $1,088 for a 1 bedroom, and $1,306 for a 2 bedroom. So in addition to the units, the building will include a multitude of resident amenities, which will be on the first floor. This includes a leasing office, community room for resident events, mail and package room, wellness and fitness center, indoor bicycle storage, as Rob mentioned, and indoor trash collection room. You can see there on the ground floor on the left-hand side. The trash would be wheeled out. And then also a computer lab and a co-work space for those that want to work from home. And then the units would be on floors 2 through 6. A little bit about the design. So we've really designed the building to act as a gateway to the neighborhood. That was very clear in the neighborhood plan, and we really wanted to focus on that, as well as activating the streetscape, along Washington Street. This lends itself to the TOD request. The ground floor amenities would be along Washington Street there, and would help create a retail-like feel for community uses. It would also allow for additional eyes on the street, which would create a safer environment. And then, so lastly, as Rob had mentioned, the building facade would be consistent with the textured looks and brick facade currently in the neighborhood area. And we would continue to work closely with West Broadway Neighborhood Association to create a design consistent with that character. So that's all I have. Thank you.
I don't know if we've, I'm already forgetting what we talked about 10 minutes ago, so I don't remember if we've discussed, we would like an extension of the time. I've requested that in writing, that's in the recommendation, only because we have to go through this process and we meet with the neighborhood, et cetera, and finalize the design. And then I remind you that section 1904E of the zoning ordinance does give you the authority to grant the dimensional waivers that were requested, the dimensional adjustments that were, I'm sorry, they're not waivers, the dimensional adjustments that we're requesting in connection with affordable housing projects. That's one of the preconditions to your waivers, so we meet that condition. So that's our project. These are great guys. I say that maybe about most of my clients, but not all of them. And but they're very eager to get into Providence. It's nice for us to have a national platform developer in this space.
look at Providence. And as one who goes by the safety complex for work sometimes, and if you have traveled east, or in my case, east to west in the city, and you go over to sit down Westminster to the schools or to the school department, et cetera. This is a bit of a gateway area as you come by there. And so that if we can clean up, freshen up and activate Service Road, I think it's good planning too. And I think that's what's excited your planning department about this project as well. It's not only a good project, it's a good location for this project. So with that, we'll open up the questions unless you, unless you want me to keep going on, but.
No,
I
it's
imagine-
quite all right. Well, I'm very familiar with this. In fact, I'll pass it on my way home this evening, as I live in the West End. I like the proposal. I think it fits in well. I was glad to see 2 letters of support that came in today came in this week for this this agenda item. Commissioners, do you have any questions directly about the design or the project overall to ask the applicant?
I have a few questions, but I'm concerned a little bit about my position on WBNA. Create anything here.
Because the WBNA wrote a letter in support of.
I'm sorry, I didn't
We'll
hear,
pause.
I didn't hear Mr. Sanchez.
Let's yeah.
To go off the record for a minute so that I can speak to Mr.
We're gonna pause this meeting for just 2 minutes while they confer.
Can somebody just repeat Mr. Or can you?
I'm on the WBNA board.
Oh, okay.
Are you an officer?
Yes, no,
You're just on the board.
no, I'm a vice president.
Oh, so he's an officer. And
Create a problem here. I'm a dictator.
It's a dictator. You're also a citizen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any problem, but I don't know what. Yeah. Yeah, no, but they haven't protested.
No, just Robin.
This is the smart one. Leave us out.
Don't get 4 if I can't do it.
That's right.
That's the problem.
Okay, we're gonna come back to this meeting. Thank you for your patience.
The WBNA is a neighborhood association and they are like any other member of the public that wants to be heard before this commission, a collection of members of the public who have the right to voice their opinions. The applicant doesn't have to do anything that they request. If they choose to, they can. I don't believe there's any conflict of interest. And Mr. Sanchez has indicated he was not involved in any way with the writing of the letter. In addition, they are in support of the project as opposed to an objection to the project. But basically, the most important thing, as far as I'm concerned, is that, and I don't mean just, but they are members of the public who are voicing their expression and their interest to this board, that this board can accept or not accept, just like any other member of the public. And they have no, critically, from the state's perspective, they have no financial interest whatsoever in this project, and neither does Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you for clarifying that and getting that on the record. With that, we will continue to the questions.
Yep, so just a couple questions. One on the people who rent their are they voucher section 8? Is all that kind of considered, or is it just
It is considered. It really is dependent on our application and how we're funded. So we will be submitting an application for funding to Rhode Island Housing. And with that, we may request additional vouchers, but at this point in time, it's general occupancy.
And then I would also just say, I didn't know about the WBA and asking for 3 families, but I was gonna say a lot of the projects we reviewed don't have 3 family units in them.
3-bedroom units.
3-bedroom units, yes. And so it's missing. And so if you would be willing to go that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're willing to consider it and we're reviewing.
And that would be in the TOD plan,
That would
not
be-
the non-TOD current
That's
C3
correct.
zoning plan. Yes. So when we continue, that would be the conditionally approved plan that they're
Is that
asking for.
because of space or amount of units available?
Yeah, under the TOD plan, we could go up to 81 units. So we would have additional space to incorporate and then also we would confer with our market analyst and make sure that analysis is done to ensure that there's market saturation available for that.
Okay, that was it. Thanks. Harry?
No, I think for one thing, I like the fact that it's attractive. It has a little bit of oomph, you know, I like that. And I think what they're doing is great. I think it's terrific and needed. And this is where we were gonna have a hotel. at one
Correct.
point.
Yeah, we had a hotel approved for this site that I guess that project died and this one
I'd
is
much rather
here.
have a residence than a hotel anyway. So
Agreed.
you got my vote, guys. If I can figure it out, if Rob can't figure it out, I'm certainly lost.
Nicole, anything to add?
No.
I mean,
I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
I think it looks like a good project and I think it would be good for that area. Yeah, I traverse it frequently, so I would I'm kind of excited about this one. It's been a parking lot for as long as I've lived in the West End and probably 2-3 times longer than that. All right, so I guess with that, we will hear the staff reports plural, because we're going to be voting on quite a few different things. I have a list, and then we'll open it up to public comment. Thank you for your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. So first off, I'm going to address the TOD zoning request. The transit-oriented overlay is a zone that's intended to be located in the vicinity of public transit. Specifically, it's been located along the R line, which is RIPTA's highest frequency bus service. This is a block away, excuse me, a block and a half away from Broad Street, just a couple of lots away from where this TOD is already located. This property is also directly adjacent to downtown, so it's within walking distance of Kennedy Plaza and even the Providence train station. So it's certainly in a location that would support this TOD zoning. And in addition, it's a high density project and it has significantly reduced parking, especially under the TOD version of the plan. So we feel, in fact, you know, we're very supportive from the very beginning when they showed us this plan that TOD was the right zoning for this. So with that, it's our recommendation that you make that you advise the city council to approve the proposed zoning change. So that's the first recommendation. Okay. Next, with respect to, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I'm gonna talk about the plan in the current C2 zoning without the overlay. Let's assume that the TOD does not pass. We're going to ask you for a vote for that plan where you saw a building that requires 2 extra stories of height and an additional 12 feet of 2 extra stories and 12 feet of height, and a reduction in parking where 76 spaces are required down to 43 spaces. These are dimensional adjustments that you are allowed to consider because this project has affordable housing, and it also has internal structured parking under this particular iteration of the plan. Given that they are eligible to ask and they are providing, because they're providing affordable housing and structured parking, we recommend that you grant those dimensional adjustments. And then we would recommend that you grant the preliminary plan, again, for the C2 version of this. And that approval should be subject to the following conditions. The drainage plan shall be subject to the approval of the city engineer. The landscaping plan shall be subject to the approval of the city forester. The validity of the preliminary plan approval shall be extended to 1 year from the expiration of the minor land development approval. That was a request that was submitted in writing. Final plan approval should be delegated to DPD staff. And I would just add that the plan for this C2 approval include 43 parking spaces and also depicts a loading zone that is compliant with the recently passed ordinance. So that's that would be the third vote. And then finally, one last vote, which is that you approve the preliminary plan for the TOD version. And in that case, no dimensional adjustments are required, but all of the conditions that I read for preliminary plan for the C2 version would apply, with the exception of depicting 43 parking spaces.
Just a quick question on that. Since we're voting on the dimensional adjustments, which clearly state the 43 parking spaces, can we just add in the loading zone based on the ordinance recently passed? That way we don't have to include it on the conditions? Or would you?
I would include that in your vote for preliminary plan, because that's the vote on the plan set. But so if you want, we could just say we have the first 4 conditions, and then for the C2 version, add 2 conditions: loading depicted per the new ordinance and 43 parking spaces. Right. Those would be conditions 5 and 6. And then under the TOD version, they're already showing loading in that version, so that doesn't need to be a condition. The TOD version would only be subject to the 4 conditions in the staff report.
Okay, perfect. All right, with that, we are going to open this up. I'm sorry?
I hope you took notes, Nicole.
I did. We're going to open this up to public comment. If there's anyone in the virtual world who would like to speak, please raise your hand. If there's anyone here, we'll start with the people in attendance. Well, there are quite a few people here. All but one from city or the applicant. All right, and we do have looks like Gabe from the WBNA is on with us virtually. Oh yeah, I usually say.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, great.
Yes, please introduce yourself and then go ahead. Just be advised, we are in receipt of the letter that the WBNA submitted.
Yep.
And with all of those suggestions on how to improve the project.
Great. Yeah, I'll keep it very brief. My name is Gabe Long, 36 Hudson Street, and yeah, I'm one of the co-chairs of the WBNA CDC, the Community Development Committee. You have the letter. I won't bore you with everything in there, but just wanted to reiterate our really strong support for this project. 60% AMI units is really would make a big dent in our neighborhood. That would be a great thing in terms of the housing insecurity and homelessness crisis that we're facing. That's what we hear again and again from neighbors. And I did want to briefly mention just a little background on how that letter came to be as far as our process. We met, the co-chairs met with Ted and Scott from Lincoln Avenue Capital, spoke with them and then organized a public meeting where they presented their plan. And really the consensus was that there's sort of broad support for this project in either configuration, but particularly in the TOD contingent configuration. There was no feedback where people were uncomfortable with the additional height or limiting the parking. I think there's really a sense that increased density is one of the keys to fighting housing insecurity and the climate crisis. And so that's really, I think I can speak pretty broadly for the neighborhood in saying that. And yeah, as you've heard, I think they're really working with us closely to address our concerns, but very, very strongly in support of this project. And again, specifically in the TOD contingent version, that really takes it from being sort of a good project to a great one. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Appreciate that. Is there anyone else from the general public who would like to comment on this agenda item? Again, raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. And seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. So it's a pretty good project. I guess we have 4 votes that we will need to take. Bless you. And we should definitely start with the city council referral and then go into the preliminary plan as currently zoned for the design waiver, and then the preliminary plan, 2 separate votes for that, and then the conditional plan approval contingent upon the TOD adoption, should the city council rezone this lot.
I'm happy to make a motion based on everything that we heard today, to recommend positively to the city council to approve the proposed zone change to include the lot within the TOD overlay.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. We have a full motion on the floor. We'll go around with a voice vote. Noel? Aye. Harry?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So the next would be, we're moving on to the currently zoned parcel and how it lays out. So this would be for the design waivers.
Actually, dimensional adjustments.
I'm sorry, dimensional adjustments. Yes, I wrote that incorrectly, but it's correct in the staff report.
Based on everything we heard today, I will make a motion that we grant the 2 dimensional adjustment. One for the height to allow for 62 feet and 6 stories as proposed. And the second, the parking adjustment to provide 43 spaces where 76 are required.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, I'd second that, certainly.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. We'll do another voice vote. Noel? Aye. Harry?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Okay, I think based on that, we could. I will make a motion to approve the plan under the existing C2 zoning. Based on everything we heard today and what's in the staff report, subject to the following 6 conditions.
Or if you want to read them, you can, or you could just.
Subject to the 4 conditions in the staff report plus 5, which is the loading for the ordinance, and 6, which is with the 43.
That works? Yes. All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second. All right. Let's do another voice vote. Noel? Aye. Harry?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The
Then-
last, go ahead.
I would make a motion that we approve the plan under the TOD overlay. Based on what we've heard today, based on the staff report, subject to the 4 conditions in the staff report. And then do we need one more? Or-
No, it's going to be conditionally approving, subject to
the zoning being
change.
changed.
Okay, so conditionally improving, subject to the zoning being changed. and also to the four conditions in the staff report.
Perfect. All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second? I think he's looking at you, Harry.
I'll second that.
All right. We'll take another voice vote. Noel.
Vote aye.
Harry,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Best of luck and congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, and again, thank you to the staff. This putting together a package like this required a lot of guidance, and Troy and Bob were very generous with their time, as was the rest of the city staff, but particularly those two. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much and good luck. That is our last agenda item for the evening.
So I'll make a
So-
motion to adjourn.
Actually, and for the year. Happy holidays, everyone. We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.
Well done.